Hey, how you doing? Today, I'm going to stay in my own backyard, so to speak. There's a lake in Ocala, which is where I live, and the lake is called Tuscawilla Lake, I think. Well, the park is called Tuscawilla Park anyway. So today, I'm going to paint a card of Tuscawilla, and there it is, Tuscawilla Park, and I'll show you how I did that using watercolors from the Winsor Newton collection. And there it is, the Winsor Newton. Those are the dry pan watercolors. I've shown you them before. But for those of you who've never watched one of my videos before, that's what I'm using mostly. Now I am also using some gouache, some Master's Touch brand of gouache, and I think this took about 45 minutes to paint, so I'll show you how I did that right now. Let's go. Okay, Tuscawilla Park in Ocala, Florida. Let's get started with some water. Just get the background wet a little bit. The part of the paper that will be the background is what I meant to say. Maybe it's a different brush. It's a little bit hard. This one's a lot softer. Just spread out the water. And begin. I haven't done a card or a painting for a card in a couple of days now. Robert and I have been filling in at the radio station. The morning host is had a fall, so he hurt his leg, and so Robin and I are helping out. So let's hope he does well. I think he's going to be back maybe Monday, but we've been working there now this week, and this is Thursday now, so as I'm doing this one. So what I'm trying to do is just lay down some little bluish grays. Keep it a little bit blotchy. Maybe even take some of this white and mix it in there. See if I can lighten the blue a little bit with it. Oh, that grays it up, doesn't it? Well, you know why it grays it up? Not because the white is bad, but because I have left color on the color, which I do a lot. I seem to do that a lot. So I'm going to spread it up here onto the back of the card to kind of dissipate it a little bit. Makes the back of the card look artsy. There we go. Get some of that white on here. Some of that blue. There, now it's working. Now it's doing what I wanted it to do. Get that blue across the sky. And keep it a little bit blotchy to kind of look like clouds and stuff. Yeah, it's looking good. Again, take the water and kind of lighten it up a little bit. That's the one thing with watercolor. You can use water to lighten the colors. There we go. That's probably all I need to do. Let that dry. While that's drying, I'll work on the bottom part here. Right here, which is mostly a reflection of the sky. Just using that same paint that I used for the sky. Just spreading it out. Putting a little bit of green in there, I guess. A little bit of gray. And we'll worry about the textures later. My plan with this one is to use the gouache pretty a lot, because there are some limbs in this picture, as you might have seen in the opening piece that I haven't recorded yet, but I will record. And I know you already know what this looks like. I don't really know what this looks like. So just some of that. Here we go. Spread that around a little bit. Here we go. So we sort of have it laid out there. This is going to be dark over here anyway, all the trees and stuff. And then in the background there, take some of this green and some of this yellow ochre. I'll start blotting it in there. The idea is to create the illusion of distant trees in Tuscawilla Park. It is really a nice park here in Ocala. I hope more people discover it. I know there's an event happening this Saturday. There's a lot of sculptures there. Not statues, not what you're thinking like when you think of statues, but sculptures. Very artistically done works that represent things in sort of an abstract way. And so there's an event this coming Saturday, and the event is basically to walk around. The event is to walk around. It's an invitation for people to walk around the park and to discover the different sculptures that are there. The city goes through a lot of trouble finding pieces to put on display, outdoor art, and most of them are on loan for a couple of months, or maybe even a year. I don't know how long they are, but that's what they're inviting people to look at this weekend. And Rob and I are participating by playing music. She will play the mandolin, I will play the accordion. We'll be doing like French instrumentals and Italian instrumentals like La Vie en Rose and O Solo Mio, I think is one of them. O Solo Mio. Oh no, Santa Lucia, that's what I want to say, Santa Lucia. And yeah, so it should be fun. Looking forward to it. Let's hope the weather is nice. The weather's been nice this week, so let's hope it stays nice for the weekend. Today's Thursday, so it's nice today. Maybe it'll stay like this all the way till that day. And so I've been watching other people's videos, other people who do watercolor. And some of you who are watching this might also be a watercolor artist already. Maybe you already also have a channel. And let me tell you, there's a lot of different styles out there, a lot of different levels of accomplishment, and a lot of people who are inspiring me, and probably you as well. It's very, very cool what we can do now with the internet and by sharing things like this. I like it a lot. I like what we're able to do as a society. I was watching one video, and it was this Chihuahua. He was running on the highway. You got to look it up. You'll probably find it right away. And the poor little dog, oh man, he must have been frightened. He was just running, and the people couldn't get him because he was running so fast. And the lady whose video I was watching, I'm saying it was a lady. I think it was a lady. Her dashboard camera, whatever it was indicating that she was going 8 miles an hour. That doesn't seem fast, right? But for a dog to be running 8 miles an hour, like for a very long period of time, that's rather amazing. And you think about, can you run 8 miles an hour like that on a highway? And the poor little guy, it's a little Chihuahua, one car, and this guy's going to be like a cockroach under somebody's foot. And you're holding your breath as you're watching the video, even though he's going to be okay because the caption indicated he was saved, but still, it was nerve-wracking. And I was worried for the people. I thought they were going to be because this wasn't a little road. This was like a major highway. Yeah, this dog was just running and just really, it's amazing what we are able to capture and share with our cameras. I know it's not all good. I know it's not all real. I know a lot of it's fake, but I think that one was real. And it showed it wasn't just this one lady, because a lot of people ended up stopping and helping the little dog to safety, and somebody eventually was able to get the dog. I don't know if the dog got tired of running or if they somehow trapped it. I really couldn't tell, but it was an amazing thing to see. All right, let's get some green over here, and let's get some yellow and orange, and let's keep it light because we're going to add shadows to it. Some of this orange in here to show the dirt. Yeah. So the paint I'm using, if I didn't already tell you, is Winsor and Newton. I love the Winsor and Newton paints. I'll also be using Master's Touch gouache in just a little while to add a lot of the little lines. I want to add little lines in this one. I feel like because there's trees in here. There's going to be a tree there and a tree there, and they have lots of little limbs. So I want to make sure I get them looking good. And plus the gouache gives me an opportunity to create some opaque areas. So I'll get this grass to go up against the water. You can already see the composition. It's kind of like a rough draft of what we want. So yeah, it's coming together. It's looking all right. Let me take some of that orange and go to the back here, because this was the other day, this picture I took, and it's still it's February, so it's winter, but in Florida it's more like autumn, so you still have a lot of these autumn colors there before the spring comes and the leaves all come back. Yeah, we don't really have a foliage time here. It just happens kind of slowly, and all of a sudden you notice that the trees have no leaves, and so it's kind of a rusty color to some of these too. Let's try to. There's so much going on back there. Some of these mid-ground trees here, they're a little closer and so therefore a little bit bigger. And a lot of them will be obscured by the bigger tree here anyway. So I think I just heard the mailman come. I think the mailman just delivered something to us. Before we had email, regular mail was the only thing we had to look forward to in the course of a day. I can remember as a kid just waiting and waiting for the mailman. Especially if I ordered something. When you were a kid, did you ever, well, if you're not as old as I am, you might not relate to this, but when I was a kid, I would order things from, like now you order things from Amazon. Well, back then it was called mail order. There wasn't one place. Like now it's all Amazon or whatever. But back then you just ordered stuff like from the back of a magazine, or from, maybe you saw an ad on TV and you just got the phone. Well, sometimes it was a phone number, and then they'd give you an address and you send them money or whatever. Or they had something called COD, which meant cash on demand, I think, or cash on delivery, I think it was called. And so the mailman would bring you whatever it is you ordered, and then of course you couldn't get it unless you had some cash. You could pay for it. And then his job was, of course, to make sure that cash made it back to the office, and then they would get it to whoever the sales company was that sold it to you, whatever it was. So what did I buy when I was a kid? Well, one time, I think the biggest purchase I ever did was a Polaroid camera. I did. I bought a Polaroid camera through the mail. I was so excited when it arrived. Oh my gosh, it was like the biggest deal for me. And then, of course, you get the camera. You're just a kid. You don't have much money. And next thing you know, you got to buy film, and that film was not cheap. So I remember that too. I'm sure I had help from my parents to pay for some of that stuff. I always did. I had good parents, really good parents. I always feel like I'm so lucky when I read stories about people who have had rough childhoods, who didn't have good parents. I don't know what that would be like. I wouldn't want to know. So hopefully you've had a good childhood, and if not, I hope you're doing okay now. I know it's all different. Everybody's got a different story. So I'm keeping that a little bit white, that line right there, just to, it can be a little bit thinner, I guess. Just keeping that white line there. Keeping this dark here because this is basically reflecting the trees across the water here. Okay. And see, while I took my time to do that, most of that has dried up there. All right. Get a drink of my soda. Here's my soda. Can you see my soda? All right, well, my camera says we're 16 minutes into this video, and we've got the background done now. So now, make sure this is dry. It's dry. Pretty good, huh? So now I'm going to take some of this dark back here. These two colors here are dark. I'm going to just try to decide how I want to do this. I don't want to mess it up. But it's going to be basically this whole area here. Goes all the way to the top. All the way. And we'll go here. Let's take it up there. So now that's going to be the basis of the tree. And we'll go ahead and add some darkness to it. And I'll take the colors that are already there, and I'm going to mush them around a little bit. The colors that are in the background. Mush them around. Just take that and bring that up here into the Neverland, the Neverland area of the tree. And so you see what happens when I take that water and I brush it around. The water kind of lifts the color that was there from before, and it makes it look sort of white, which is what I want. There's a limb. There's another limb. Okay, let's keep doing this. Go ahead and take the water. Spread the water around. I don't really want an outline to the tree like a cartoon, so that black line on the right side has got to go mostly. It's kind of a backlit tree, but I want to get the white from the tree. All right, well, I gotta let that dry before I do anything. It won't work if I don't let it dry. So I'll just keep adding some limbs here. And this is a very, very thin tip to the brush, so it makes it a lot easier to make limbs. See how that white is forming there from where the water is? That's what we want. Okay, now make some more limbs come out way over here. Some more. There's another limb that reaches way, way over across. See how it tapers down? Give it some darkness right here. Some little folds in the tree where the roots start to enter the ground, or where the roots come up from the ground is what I should say. There we go. Lots of little so many limbs on a tree, little branches. Trying to make them very tiny, almost like one hair from the brush. The brush becomes a very important tool when you're doing little things like this. I always say the brush needs to be the right brush, but it doesn't need to be an expensive brush. I think sometimes we believe that if we pay more, it'll do a better job. It's not always true. I know there are exceptions to everything, but there's lots of branches here. If you were to climb this tree, you could only stand on a little bit of this to support your weight. Most of this tree is very, very small limbs. Although there are many trees in our area that are so huge. The big live oaks, they're gigantic. They're gigantic. I see kids climbing on them all the time. Yeah, I'm not climbing on them. Don't worry. It's not me climbing anymore. When I was a kid, I used to climb. I had pear trees in the backyard when I was a kid. And I climbed up those trees all the time. It's funny, huh? It's easy to remember stuff like that. It's very easy. I'm doing my best to just get lots and lots of branches here. Let's go ahead and get some of this. Okay, I'm going to leave that like that for now, let that dry. I think that's probably pretty good. And then what I want to do over here is there's another tree, so most of this is going to be obscured. And this tree really has no leaves on it at all. It's completely waiting for the spring to come around. Like those trees across the lake, they have plenty of leaves, but they're all yellow for some reason. This one lost its leaves. It's probably a different kind of tree. That's what I think. So little tiny little lines here to make it really full of limbs, full of places for birds and squirrels to have fun, to eat, to live, to hide, all the things that the animals do. Right? You agree with me? Huh? Okay. Yeah, I just think there needs to be a lot more of these little lines. I feel like I'm not really. Well, you don't have to get it. It doesn't have to be a perfect photographic representation, but I would like to have like this amazing network of limbs and twigs and things that are just kind of flying away. Now you see the picture will end right there. See, from that point on. So that's just the back of the card. All right, let's do the other tree now. The other tree is on this side of the lake. It's right here, and it's not as close to the camera. And it's also got the girth of the tree is looks very, very wide actually. And the limbs on this one come out right away. This is one of those live oaks I was telling you about. This tree will come out and go like this. And it's going to meet with that other tree from the eye perspective. Yeah, this one's got these large. And this one goes way up. This one goes all the way to the top of the page too. Just like the other one. But a lot of this is leaves. This is not all just limbs. This is big old trunks, gigantic trunks, big old limbs. These are the ones you can climb on. And I want to make sure I put lots of leaves on this, and they're very dark. I haven't used gouache yet, but I plan on using gouache to lighten up some of the areas of the trees, both, and maybe even on the grass a little bit. Just to kind of create these long. There we go. All right, now let me start doing a little bit of pointillism kind of a thing, and create the look of a very full tree, very full of leaves, and we'll keep the top light because that's where the sun is going to be hitting. A lot of this is going to be darker than the sky and then the distant trees. So it's hanging down here, and then it reaches up here, and from your eye perspective, it's melding into this other tree. So now you see what I'm going for. I'm going for this very, very big, distant live oak tree. And it's got a shadow that it's casting, and there we go. Some areas of light are coming through it. Let's just keep adding. There we go. Can you see it? Can you see especially how it works with that background there? Right? I think there's probably a good idea to go ahead and just add a few over here too. There's some other trees in here that are just in the background. And we can just sort of add them in, just put a couple of these vertical lines, and that represents the trees. But this is the one we're mostly trying to focus on. That one and this one, of course. Yeah, that's the other edge of the water too. The lake goes over there. And there's a little bit of the land. And some of the shadows. So now you see how that light is why I kept that light right there. To give it that look. Alright, let me get some of this yellow up here. Where some of this, the tree, the actual color of the tree can be seen. I still want to keep it dark. So the yellow is actually making the green look more like a yellow green. I try to mix it together. Yeah, and again, I'm trying to remember where this ends actually, so I don't have to go too far to the back, because it's all going to be folded on the back anyway. The actual painting surface is here, and the back of the card is kind of being used, in this case, it's not really being used as a palette, although I have done that too. Alright, now a little bit of dark over here. It's a little bit too dark. Just want to create some little bit look of shadow over here. From maybe there's some trees over here that are creating some of the limbs of the trees over here are leaving some shadows, and over here too. And now that this tree is dry, we can work a little bit more on that shadow on this side of it. There we go. And a little bit more yellow. Some of that yellow ochre, make it a little bit kind of a mixture of yellow and brown. There we go. So that's going to be our tree. Let me go ahead and get this water a little darker here. Keep it lighter right there. Let the light come down here. I can put little ripples in the water. So you get the feeling of water. And over here too. Some of these areas in the back can be darkened a little bit, make it more mysterious about what's back there. Again, some vertical lines back there will create the illusion that these are trees. little bit of leaves, a little bit of grass. Okay, let that dry. It's almost dry already, and we're 34 minutes into the video, and we're doing good. We're doing real good. A few more leaves, a few more limbs, a few more branches. Just keep it very, very very covered with branches, with twigs, with limbs and all that. So this one is closer, so it's easier to see the branches. A little bit of reflective. Some of these vertical lines that I put in there could be reflecting into the water. Gives that illusion of water. It's amazing how long you can use a brush with paint on it before you need to dip it into the paint again. And with watercolor, the water makes it lighter. The water actually, as you're painting, like the same color doesn't come off the brush. It almost changes color because the water is not as present. All right, I think I did everything I'm going to do with the watercolor. So what I'm going to do with the Winsor Newton, I'm going to close that up for now, and the other colors are from this kit. This is called Master's Touch. So what I want from here is the white. That's titanium white. I have this white also. I have this yellow, that lemon yellow. And maybe a little bit of this yellow medium. So I'll use those three. And what I'm going to use them for is some of the lighter areas that need to go over the darker areas. So let's see how I will do this. I'll use this. These are all the dried. Actually, I might be able to use the dried. Let me see if I can reactivate them. I got a nice pile of white right here. Let me just get that white very wet and reactivate it. And I had some dark on my brush already, so it's making it like a gray. So I want to try something here. Let's see if this works here. Put a little bit of white into the water before I try to do anything else. Yeah, it's working. There we go. Let's get some white on this tree over here. Some light. And over on this tree. Get it more. See if we can see the bit of the bark a little bit. Yeah, because it's not smooth. It's got a lot of texture to it. So I'll just keep dabbing it on there. And this branch right here, get some light coming off of it. Okay, now what we want to do is take some of these branches from this tree that's in the foreground and make them white, and go over the tree in the background. That way you can see the branches, because when they're up against the sky they look black, but when they're up against the dark tree in the background, they look white. I may not need to use the yellow. The white might be doing the job perfectly. So now you see all that stuff that I was covering, it no longer is being covered. It's now being revealed because of the white paint. Let me get a little bit of white on here, a little bit of light onto this tree, and a little bit of light reflecting in the water. It's coming through right there, a little bit. And some more white coming into the water. Over here. Okay. Just keep working this. Get some of these little tiny limbs, and these limbs grow all the way across. They're all the way across. This tree is far-reaching, farther than we thought earlier. We couldn't see it because of this tree, but now we can see it. All these limbs making their way across. Isn't that cool? That's cool. And then I'll do a little bit of gray. Let's see. Take some more of that white, mix it with a little bit of violet or whatever color that is, and try to make this area a little bit less defined. And then way in the background too, got some little vertical lines. Oop, that's way too big. That's way, way, way too big. Don't want that. Oh, way too big. Gotta make it tiny, tiny lines. Little tiny. Little tiny pieces of tree that you can see in the distance. It's not always exactly clear what those things are. Okay, and then let's go back to the white and put it back in the water. Some more of this reflective light coming across the water. I like the way the limbs look here. They reach all the way across. Even though this is the white of the card itself, the paper itself is coming through, which is what we want, but we also want a little bit of this reflective color coming in from the trees up here. I see I didn't really need those tubes of paint. I thought I was going to need them, but I could use the old paint and just reactivate it. It's still the same brand though, in case you're wondering. It's still Master's Touch. I use Artist's Loft also. I'm not using it this time. I don't think it really would make that much of a difference. I do think over time it makes a difference. I think one of them might start to look chalky and the other one will hold the pigment. The Master's Touch seems to hold the pigment. The Artist's Loft works perfectly for illustrations. Okay, I'm just trying to create a little bit of darkness here. I don't want all of this to be so perfectly defined. Okay, now let's take some of this green that's already dried out, and I'm going to get it wet and reactivate it. Mix it with some of this yellow that's up here and some of that white. And I'm going to make a few little wisps of what might be. That's a little too light. We need to make it darker. Little wisps of palms. There's a lot of palm trees in Florida, and these are little palm fronds that just grow like right at the foot of a tree. You know, it's not like the palm trees like you see in the movies. Well, we have those too, of course, but here we go. I can put some more over here. Maybe make the grass a little bit less defined. Some shadows coming across here. Okay. Okay, I think we have I think we're done. I think we're done with the picture of Tuscawilla. I'm not sure what I'll call it. Maybe I'll just call it Tuscawilla. Or maybe I'll call it Tuscawilla, Winter Tuscawilla. Let me fold it. Show you what it looks like without the open part. There we go. There's my painting of Tuscawilla Park and the very branchy tree. There you go. All right, see you later. Bye.